These are my memories of what my thoughts have been. Struggling in the evening due to my infirmities, I went in search of an opening that I was excited to have been invited to. It's particularly disappointing that the place I was told to go to didn't exist because I rather liked the fellow who invited me and was excited, telling people how excited I was to have been invited somewhere for the first time in a long time. There may be a plausible explanation, but of course, I've come from a lifetime of having been ditched, which was the word that was taught to us for this by the Carls. It wasn't just me whose hearts they broke as a child. They really upset my nephew Stephen by ditching him. The Jews used to ditch me a lot. They would leave me standing in the cold where they told me to go. Happened a lot. Reminds me of a poem by Vladimir Nabokov called Pale Fire. A disappointed fat girl finally commits suicide. Reminds me of something else I can't place. As I said, I've been thinking a lot as I struggled on the walk home about this emptiness that used to be so common. I haven't felt in years. It wouldn't be good for me to lose the full sum of my thoughts because they were quite interesting. So I'll pause a moment and see if I can collect my memories. You know how it is when you're old, you place a memory thought. It's hard for me to write down. I can't keep up with my notes because of my Parkinson's. When you're disliked by somebody like Paul McCartney, all he has to do is inflect in your direction, and everybody else inflects accordingly. It's not important whether they don't feel they owe you any kind of common courtesy. They don't bother with the fact that you're deaf or anything that pertains to deafness. There's no political correctness. There is no woke mentality about the deaf. I know this from long experience with the deaf community. Heartbroken, rejected, sad people. Another thing that comes up quite often is the way the NAACP has instigated all this. They home computer surveillance, and I think that you should be concerned, as I am, about the fabrications, the issue of Black Athena or whatever it was, Malifia Sante Temple, claim that because so much African history has been erased, it's appropriate to construct myths, to counter myths. Well, academic freedom isn't licensed to give fiction, but I served as a myth. So academic accuracy doesn't take cognizance of my divestment articles. I'm supposed to prove that I didn't just pose when I used to go out to all hours dancing to reggae. And the list goes on and on. Anybody who's dealt with the mindset of people who are demanding that you play the role of their myth about you can understand that it's pretty hard hitting unfairness. And of course, they say it's reverse unfairness, so therefore it is fair. But there's no woke movement. That's a common alligator in the swamp of Congress. But there's no woke about deafness. Nobody's going to say, when you wave your hand, it's disruptive. So go stand over in the corner there. They just don't. They just stand you up. They ditch you. I had forgotten how Jewish Iowa is when I made the joke that I thought Tacoma was as bad as Des Moines when I couldn't find a coffee shop. But they had somebody loping in an Iowa Hawkeye shirt to make sure I understood that McCartney had detected and circulated what Queerball had sniveled. It was hard to find any comfortable place. And the hostility that was generated by Sting and his quarrymen. Yeah, my name, by the way, was derives from McQuarrie. Gale, the assassin, derives from Griffin, the winged Griffith. So it's a very arcane language that's at work in McCartney's crime. And of course, they poached me for, they said, King Edward and his buddies said, we'll make something you can hawk to replace the role model of the Secret Intelligence Band. So there's a lot of angles that surround what I'm forgetting. I haven't remembered what it was I was thinking about, what I was talking to myself about, comforting myself about. But I did write a poem, about Take It Down, Take It Down, it's called. It's in all poetry come Macquarie. It's about the way they stole my father's medals and disregarded me. They they have it all figured out, he's disloyal to Hitler. Reagan, the reason, if you wonder why the partners, Reagan and Lenin, pretended what they pulled, it isn't just because it works so well. It's because they knew that if America had it rubbed in its face, they wouldn't say Heil Hitler. They had to find a way to sort of perfect secret Heil Hitler. And America could save face by not actually vocalizing how they felt about the world. And that brings me back to what I'd forgotten. The Wildmaker kid, Ian, used to say, idea has struck the mind. What sort of idea has struck them on? We know that they gave me a BB gun to kill a bird, and they have a story of the bird and a Wade BB, which is like Henry Wade, Roe versus Wade. Sheriff Wade, who framed Oswald, same fella. BB, Beth Blumenfeld, I guess. Elizabeth Blumenfield, Gellamini, Blue Meanies. They had it all hypnography for a Shakespearean presentation by the government. And they taught me to just be obedient, to stutter, fake notes to the teacher when I miss class and stuff. So what's the idea that struck Wanamaker's mind? I mean, we know that it's about the Kennedy assassination. That's why all of the perverts and the John Wilkes Booth want to hawk it and sell it and claim that it's theirs for Trumpy tune, and why the partnership of Lenin and Reagan was devised to confiscate it. We know that much. There's something about John Pendleton Kennedy and this thing about the walrus. What's the idea that struck the mind of this Brett Wattenmaker, the Zionist, this nut, this brain surgeon? Um, it's clearly to destroy and change and implant America's self-image. He took me to see the incredible two-headed transplant, which has a famous line, the maniac says to the retarded, I have to teach this moron how to walk. That's how they show that they succeeded. They blow the mind of the president out in their car. And then they ditch his loyalists. Then they claim that they are the victims. And they get cheap sadists to fulfill their hate message. Maybe there's some other explanation for what happened tonight. I don't want to deny that I may have just not gone to the right place. But it brought back a lot of haunting memories. And it is clear that the self-image of the United States has been replaced, that there's a hot wiring job. To symbolize it in the Elizabethan Theater Company, they used a stolen beetle. VW for V, victory is virginity, two virgins is the war dame. And just as Hitler named the VW the Beetle, he named the Beatles the Beatles. Hitler's regulars and friends with King. I mean, Liverpool was Confederate Secret Service during the war between the states, and all they had to do was come up with a way of saying that the good black men, the ones who endorse drone warfare and peep on people who actually love them and advocate for them in the liberal, open, public commonwealth. They talk about you behind your back. They don't like Bob Marley. Go tell the Black Panthers he's dissing Bob Marley. And it doesn't have anything to do with the truth. They don't have any fact checkers because Malifi Asante says it's okay to construct a myth. You don't have to look at the details of their actual labors. The fact that as a deaf man, he trusted his black co-workers and lost his fiance because of it. You don't have to look at the facts. You do not have to look at the facts. You're constructing a myth. Well, this is where it comes from the Liverpool crowd. The blacks who will help the Confederate Green Party construct the myth that Robert F. Kennedy thinks will save the planet in the United States. Will go to comedy night while they're crying in Gaza where they're pampered, he says. They're crying in Gaza, but America needs comedy to heal. The Kennedy kook announces. And he's done marvelous work in ecology. Why doesn't he just stick with the public school system? Well, the reason he can't stick with the public school system because he sided with Toon and the Beatles on the concept of the ark and was in on constructing the myth. The idea that the worm work of the NAACP on the job snatching my girlfriend from me is what that was the mechanism, but it's not really what happened in terms of my loss of her. That was the narrative of the soap opera. They had surrounded us as like a soap opera showcase and implanted a neuroplasm. The truth was that she was there as a sexual femme Nikita, targeting the neuroplasm so that Yoko Ono could jump down and say, see, and McCartney could inflect towards McQuarrie and see that he was ditched by the people he loved.